Welcome to CRPS and Rheumatoid Diaries. Welcome back if you've been here before. In my last video, I was talking about having had my bilateral foot surgery, and I mentioned a hospital nightmare that I dealt with yet again. More often than not, when I go to the hospital, I always come out with some sort of trauma. It's brutal up here. I don't know if any of you face that. I'm sure many have medical nightmare stories of their own. If you do, leave them in the comments below. I'd like to hear your stories too. It makes me not feel so alone. So when I stayed in the hospital, I was in for 2 nights. Oh my gosh, I couldn't get out of there soon enough, let me tell you. Because they really don't look after you in there. They really don't. Like, they do what they absolutely have to, right? Like, I don't know, IV stuff, your blood pressure maybe. And that's it. Like, the second day there, I had to ask for something so that I could actually brush my teeth and wash my face, like, because I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't walk. They just don't look after anything. I hate it in there. Did I mention that? So anyway, the one night, the nurses would come in through the night and kind of check on you, but if they saw me sleeping, they would leave me alone, which I was grateful for. And I do have to say, all but one nurse was amazing in there. Like, they were really kind, so for that, I'm grateful. It's the one nurse. She would come in throughout the night, and she would barge in the room, and she would go, "Just checking." Like, she'd kind of yell it, so it jolts me out of a sleep. But the thing is, she wasn't checking anything. She'd just peek in the room, yell, "Just checking," and walk out. So what the hell was she checking? I don't know. Anyway, she did that many times. And then one of the nights, I don't know, well, it was only one night that I had her, thankfully. At one point during the night, sorry, things may be a little fuzzy because I was on a lot of pain medications. So I don't know what made her come to the side of my bed. I'm not sure if my machines were beeping or what, but I'd kind of woken up to her at the side of my bed, and she started yelling, "Your IV has come out." Almost like it was my fault that my IV had come out. I didn't even know it was out. So it was out. I didn't know how long it was out for. And it was my strongest pain meds. It was my lidocaine and ketamine infusion IV that had come out. So then she's like, "I'm going to have to turn on the light. We have to get another IV in." Just really she's exasperated with me, and I'm just so out of it, between all the pain meds and actually it being the middle of the night and whatnot. So then she turns the light on, grabs the IV stuff, and literally proceeds to, put an IV in, which she couldn't. So she tried again and again. In the process, she blew 3 veins on me. And if any of you have had blown veins, they hurt. It's 11 days later, and a couple of my veins are still very painful from it. Anyway, then she's like, "I'm going to have to get a specialist in here to do this because I just can't do it," Again, it's my fault. So at this point, sometime during this point, or maybe it's what brought her in, I don't remember, my machines were beeping really loud. If you saw my last video, you'll hear the machines beeping. They were beeping really loud. And then, so she left to go get a specialist, is what I thought. But then she nor anyone else came back. And I'm not sure if I even realized, again, because I was so drugged or what, but I think my machine was still beeping really loud. And all of a sudden, I've got all these nurses running in the room and all around me, and I'm not fully sure what's going on. Well, it turns out that the nurse, the nasty nurse, along with the rest of the staff in my unit, left me that way and took off and went on break. So they left me after, with the intravenous out, the IV out, um, 2 or 3 blown veins at this point, and this was my pain meds. So I headed into a pain crisis. This pain started to come raging back in my feet, the CRPS pain, probably the surgery pain as well. And they took off and went on break and left me this way and never said a word. So like all these nurses that came, running in, they were actually from another ward in the hospital. They didn't know me. They didn't know my case. They didn't know what meds were in the IV, and they didn't know how much I was being given if I had had the IV in. They didn't know what happened. So like there's all this chaos going on, and then yet one of them had said, it's going to be another 40 minutes before we can figure this out. And at that point I was upset. Like I was like, what? I can feel the pain. And that's when I found out from the nurse that she said, we're not from your unit. We just heard the beeping and we didn't know what was going on, so we came running over. And she said, the staff has gone on break and left you. So they went out to figure out for me and for the staff that should have been doing it what I needed. And at some point then I had like a nurse who was more specialized in doing IVs come in to get an IV in. Well, she had trouble too, and she blew another 2 or 3 veins. In total, I think I had about 6 blown veins before she finally got an IV in. And the IV that she got in was like in this area of my arm. And it was so painful, like I couldn't lean my arm down or anything, because it's right there and it hurt. Plus all the other veins, like the back of my hand is, this one and this one are the worst right now. Like I had 2 IVs in. I had another one in for a saline solution in this hand. So this one really hurts still, and this one really hurts still. But I had a whole bunch all over here where they were trying to like get veins. And then I think it was the nurses from the other ward who figured things out and got me back on the pain meds I needed to be on, Thankfully, I had enough pain meds in my system that all the IVs I had to get done and all the blown veins didn't hurt too much at the time. But oh my God, when I came home, like it's still really painful. Like I said, very tender here. One day when it was really, really painful still, I bumped it and it almost brought me to my knees. So anyway, that is the nightmare story. Like they just left me, headed into a pain crisis, and went on break and never fixed anything. So the next night, so this must have been my first night. The next night, the nurse that I liked the most was in, or the next morning she was in, and I said, did you hear what happened last night? And she said, yes. And I said, will I have that nurse again tonight? And she said, no. And I said, good. And she said, why? And I said, do you really want to know? And she said, yes. So I told her, and she said, thank you for telling me these are the things that we need to know. So now I'm kind of I'm debating whether or not I'm going to report the situation, because I'm so sick and tired of this kind of thing happening in the hospital. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know I've been sent home with spinal fluid leaks. I've been, I had all the symptoms, but all they wanted to do is just get me home. They didn't care. I've been sent home with eye damage. I've had burns on my face from surgeries. It's just crazy. And they blow them off. So I'm sick and tired of it. Somebody's got to speak up at some point. So I'm just debating. I just need to, I need to get my strength back before I could deal with that. I don't know if you can tell, I'm actually sitting in my wheelchair right now talking. So yeah, that's the nightmare story. I know this is getting a bit long, but I'm going to combine kind of two videos in one. In my last video, I mentioned that I was really, really sick with what I thought was kidney stones. It presented very much like kidney stones, and I was, it started before I went for surgery, but it was so mild, I didn't think much of it, and I didn't want anything to stop surgery either, to be honest. But I didn't think much of it. Um, and then when I got home from surgery, this pain in my sides, that's how it started, like a mild pain in my sides. I'll try and stand up. I can only stand up on one foot, but I had mild pain here. Actually, it was only in this side at the time. When I came home from surgery and the painkillers had all worn off and everything, not the ones I take from home, but the ones from the hospital, the pain in my sides started to get worse and worse and worse. And um, again, I just thought it was kidney stones, so I was just drinking a lot of fluids, hoping that I could flush them out, because mentally and emotionally and physically, I could not bear the thought of dealing with any more hospitals, doctors, or nurses. It's very scary. You never know what you're going to get. And more often than not, like I said, it's brutal. And I just could not. I mean, seriously, I was in really bad pain. I still am. And no matter how bad the pain was getting, the fear of going back into the hospital or back to the hospital at all overrode the pain for a long time for me. The night before last, I didn't, was it last? Two nights ago, I didn't get any sleep for the pain. Like the pain just had gotten worse, and it started to spread to my other side. And the pain I can describe felt like knives being driven into my sides and turned. That's how bad it would get. So for 2 nights straight, I didn't sleep because the pain, I couldn't. It would jolt me awake all night long. And then yesterday was that, the night before that was like one of the nights. And then yesterday my husband called me on his lunch hour, like he always does, and he asked me how I was doing, and I just burst into tears. I said, I'm not doing well, and I don't know what to do. I don't want to go to the hospital, but the pain isn't good. And I had actually, got the courage to phone my doctor's office and find out if I could get an emergency phone appointment with him, because I can't walk, right? I can't drive myself, and I didn't want to pull my husband out of work again. He already took off time to look after me right after surgery. So I called the doctor's office, and the assistant told me that I need to go to emergency. And I said, I really don't want to. I can't walk because I've had bilateral foot surgery. I am not physically able to sit in emergency for 12 hours like this. Is there anything he can do? Like, could he even call ahead and order an emergency CAT scan for me, so when I get there that's already in place? And she said he gave up his hospital privileges 2 years ago. I'm like, what? So basically my doctor couldn't do anything for me. I had to go to emergency. I still didn't want to. I was still torn about it. And when my husband called, he heard my voice, and he's like, I'm coming to get you. I'm taking you to the hospital. So I'm like, okay, well, at least give me 5 minutes before you leave so I can get some things ready to go that I'll need. And I hadn't even eaten hardly any of my lunch. But I don't really have much of an appetite right now anyway with this with this situation. So, but I forgot to bring my water bottle, so I had no fluids either, which was brutal in one way, but in another way is probably good. I can tell you that too later. So yeah, off to the hospital I went. I got lucky in that normally at the at ER it's a 12-hour wait to be seen, to have anything done. Um, I ended up being there at a time where it wasn't as busy, which I'm very grateful for. It was still 6 hours though, um, from start to finish. But I got all the testing I needed done. You know, I got the blood work and the urinalysis, and I got a CAT scan done and everything. All the while in pain. And guys, all they're offering me is Tylenol. I can't take anything, any NSAIDs like anti-inflammatories because of my kidneys and my stomach. All they were offering me is Tylenol. I'm telling you, the pain I was in, Percocet that I have at home already doesn't touch it. That's how bad the pain is. And they're offering me Tylenol. I said, no, no thanks. It won't touch it. It's not, there's no point. So anyway, the good news is, after all the testing, that I don't have kidney stones, which is what I thought I had. And I was terrified because if I had kidney stones, it could mean surgery, right? If they're not passing on their own. So I was really scared. So that is awesome, awesome news. And I almost ended up with one of the most abusive doctors in where I live. He has been charged with sexually abusing patients. He's known for being cruel to his patients, and he's still allowed to practice. I don't understand why, but he was the emergency doctor in last night, and all of a sudden it was just changed to I got another doctor, and I was so grateful. Someone looking out for me. I was so grateful, and he was a really, really nice doctor. So that was a gift. I don't know why that other doctor is still allowed to practice. It's ridiculous. He should be in jail. Anyway, yeah. So the test results basically show that I have quite a bad kidney infection is what's going on. So in all honesty, I'm glad I went, because that can go from bad to worse really quickly. And like, I don't have a bladder, right? So any infection goes straight to my kidneys. And guys, it is as painful probably, or more so than childbirth, what's happening. And I had a fever and like just sick, way more sick than I realized. So they gave me IV antibiotics in Emerge last night, and then sent me home with a prescription to take for the next 10 days. Hasn't kicked in yet. I'm still in pain. Sorry guys, this is going to be a long video. I'm still in pain. I'm very, very tired because I haven't slept in 3 nights. I still have a fever. It's been a rough go between bilateral foot surgery. I'm also dealing with constant ocular migraines, like auras, and this kidney infection. So, and having to go to the hospital for 6 hours yesterday. I was so tired. Anyway, I came home from the hospital and I hadn't drank all day because, like I said, I forgot to take a water bottle with me to the hospital because it was kind of like grab stuff and run. Well, I can't run, but you know what I mean. And it's probably a good thing because when I drink water, it causes pain. You'd think it would help, but it causes pain. But last night when I got home, I was so thirsty, and I rarely ever get thirsty. I was so thirsty, and I downed a ton of water, like double the amount, like to catch up from the day that I would have in a short span of time, maybe even more than double. Big mistake. Big mistake. It sent me into the worst pain crisis I probably think I've ever had. It didn't hit immediately, but when it did, I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you guys, I was literally screaming in pain for 2 hours. I think it was 2 hours straight. I was screaming in pain. I have never done that in my life. I've been in some absolute serious pain and I have never screamed in pain before. This was so bad that I couldn't stop screaming, and I was crying, and it was horrific. And that's just from drinking water. And and the hospital's wanting to give me Tylenol. So anyway, once the fluids went through me, the pain calmed down. I'm very sore from that today. But I still had a fever, right? And I still do have a fever, and the fever kept me awake all night. So now it's been 3 nights without sleep at this point. And yeah, like I'm just sick and I'm tired. I'm very grateful to have answers and that it doesn't involve surgery, and to know that once the antibiotics kick in, at least that part will get better for me. Because it's a lot. Like the kidney pain, the surgeries, the CRPS, the blown veins, and my rheumatoid too. Like, oh my gosh. If I let myself feel, I probably wouldn't stop crying for days. I'm just numb. So that is the story. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of whether or not I should report to the hospital the neglect that happened. The other thing I forgot to mention regarding the neglect, they forgot to give me my seizure meds. Somehow I was on top of that and I took them myself. I mentioned it and then I took them myself. They forgot to give me other meds that I need. And one of the meds, they said, oh, it's neither here or there whether you take it or not, which is not the true at all, by any stretch. So let me know in the comments if you think that I should report them to the hospital. You know, the fear is being blacklisted, but I'm sick and tired of being damaged and abused at the hospital. You know, the medical world expects us to treat them with respect. Well, it needs to go both ways, in my opinion. So yeah, I have medical PTSD for many, many good reasons, and it sucks though. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the bell that notifies you when I make new vlog posts. And I'll say there's hope, and hope is a good thing. See you in the next one.